Welcome to this week's edition of Inter-University Debate, which is brought to you by Center for Constitutional Governance and Civic Space TV. I'm your moderator for this talk show. My name is Fancy Jendalake. I'm a tax lawyer. For this week's edition, we are hosting students of Mountains of the Moon University. You're welcome to the Inter-University Debate.
Thank you.
So this week's edition, we are discussing the conflict in the Democratic Republic of Congo and how it impacts the regional integration. Now, the Democratic Republic of Congo is Africa's second largest country, and in the world, it is the 11th largest country. But it has battled with several conflicts in there, and we are going to unpack all the conflicts today in our discussion. Now, the UN recently stated that the Democratic Republic of Congo has harbored over 122 rebel groups. Now, those are so many rebel groups for one country. So today we sit and discuss with students of Mountain of the Moon University. What is the background of the conflicts in Congo? And then what is the current status? We have heard about the Uganda's involvement, Rwanda's involvement. So how far is the Rwanda and Uganda's involvement? And then we are looking at regional integration. As we know, the EAC, that is the East African Community, was formed in 1999 when the treaty came into force. And then several countries joined, including the Democratic Republic of Congo. So we sit today also and we discuss what does the conflict in Congo mean for the integration of the EAC, something that the region has wanted for quite a long time. So we'll look at that as well as some of the solutions that we should look at. Should we look at the international intervention? How about regional intervention by some of these countries? Or should we sit back and say, you know what, Congo, due to sovereignty of the different states, handle your issues? We'll unpack all this today. So before we delve into the discussion with the panelists, let me introduce them to you. We'll start with the gentleman that is seated right next to me. He is called Mr. Ndungo Pedson. Pedson is pursuing bachelor's degree of arts in economics. He's in his third year and is the speaker of Mountains of the Moon University Debate Society. Pedson, you're welcome to the Inter-University Debate.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure to be with you here.
Okay, thank you so much, Pedson. Right next to Pedson is Mr. Waiswa Augustine, who is familiar to this talk show. Yeah, so he is the debate president of Mountains of the Moon University and the former president of Rwenzori Debate Forum, and is currently the president of the Talks Arena.
Yeah,
so, Augustine, you're welcome to the Inter-University Debate.
Thank you so much, Jenda, and I look forward to have a fruitful discussion.
Thank you. We are happy to have you again.
It's my pleasure.
Okay. So our third panelist is the only lady on the panel today. So we have Right Honorable Ariyo Rachael. Rachael is the Guild Deputy Speaker of Mountains of the Moon University, and she's pursuing Bachelor of Arts in Education. Rachael, you're welcome to the Inter-University Debate.
It's my pleasure, and thank you too for hosting us.
Okay. So our fourth panelist is His Excellency. That is Mujulizi Dan. I hope I pronounced that well. He is the current Guild President of Mountains of the Moon University, and he says he's the youngest Pan-Africanist.
Right.
He's doing Bachelor of Arts with Education, and he's in his final year. You're welcome to the Inter-University Debate.
Thank you for hosting me. It's a pleasure.
Okay, so we have the Guild fully represented on the panel. We have the executive arm, we have the legislative arm fully represented on the panel. Okay, so as I introduced earlier, we are discussing the conflict in the Democratic Republic of Congo and how it impacts on the regional integration. That is the integration of the Eastern Bloc the EAC that I earlier mentioned that was introduced and formed in 1999 through a treaty. And we have seen several countries join in recently. We saw South Sudan joining, and Somalia has shown interest. So to unpack the conflict in Congo, let me start from Pedson. So Pedson, what is the background, the historical background of the conflicts in Congo?
Thank you very much, Madam Genda and the viewers. Maybe to make it clear, it's also my second time on this show because I participated in the last year's inter-university debates. So in regard to the question asked to me, it's clear that Congo has had tremendous seasons of war, whose origin may not be all that clear because it has been attacked by, currently we are seeing over 100 countries or armed forces in the DRC with, of course, different ambitions. But we see that trouble started as early as Congo had its independence. That was way back in 1960 when Congo had her independence. And it was too hard, especially during January of 1961, when the by then Prime Minister was murdered, and that was Patrice Samuel Lumumba. He was the Prime Minister, and he was murdered by the then government. So we see that immediately after his murder, as he was a focused leader, so trouble started, and since then, Congo had never had peace. So all that period, they went into trouble, and we see much more trouble coming in 1994, just after the Rwandan genocide. So the war perpetrators of Rwanda genocide fled to Congo, and so Rwanda, in conjunction with Uganda, got a collaboration and went to Congo to hunt and protect its borders to make sure that those war perpetrators do not go back to Rwanda to bring more trouble. So since then, Rwanda has never been at peace. But this absence of peace in Congo has a lot of causes, of which some are brought by the colonialists who came and dictated on how we should identify ourselves. In my own view, and you will bear witness with me, that we should learn to identify ourselves as Africans, because we are comprised of very many ethnic groups who were divided by the colonialists. You will see that when the colonialists allocated boundaries between us, they took a certain tribe of Rwanda into Congo, and those were the Banyamirenge, who are currently in Congo. So over the time, the Banyamirenge have not been considered to be one of the indigenous tribes in Congo. They have always been considered as foreigners, and of course, when you are living in a country and you considered as a foreigner, you too do not feel comfortable in that country. So all those distinctions have brought in trouble in Congo. And now when Uganda and Rwanda went to protect the borders of Rwanda for the war perpetrators of the Rwanda genocide not to go back, a rebel leader in Congo, that was none other than I think he was Mobutu. That was Mobutu. He joined the Rwanda in the need to overthrow the then president. So we see that the other president was overthrown by Mobutu. So after Mobutu coming into power, there was another coup that was led by Desire.
In addition to
Desire
this
Kabila.
point,
Let me first make it clear. Desire Kabila also came in government and a coup, and there we had reached 1996. He also ruled for some little time. He formed a government that was undesirable. He even forgot the people who led him into power. That was Rwanda and Uganda. He turned against them and chased them away. He was helped by some other countries like Zimbabwe. It came in, and when had just ran after them, still they also turned against him and overthrew him in another coup that brought in his own son, that is Joseph Kabila, in the year had reached 1998. So Kabila came in the government, and he also led up to some time when he was replaced by the current president, that is Tshisekedi. But it's not just about the political interest that Congo is at war, because we realize that Congo, we wonder whether we should call it a blessed country or a cursed country, because in the blessed perspective, we would say it is having new minerals and a lot of natural resources that would render it being a blessed country. But all these blessings have turned it to be almost called a cursed country, because we have seen many people with different interests coming in to scoop the minerals. It's not lost on me that in the government of Kabila, he made an alliance with now the person who is recognized as the richest person in Israel, and that is none other than Dan Gitler. So he made an alliance with Dan Gitler to always exchange the natural resources of Congo in exchange for guns. So he aimed at protecting himself as a president. So he made all the kinds of corruption. Come and take the minerals, as long as you give me what? You give me all the money power to keep me in government. So it's not also lost on me that still, even Uganda, a neighbor who would be a friend to Congo, also goes to Congo, not in the need to secure Congo, but to take her minerals from her. That's how the minerals of Congo have almost turned from a blessing to a curse. Okay. So you find that most of the wars since independence are concentrated in the eastern parts of Congo, which is the one that is having the highest concentration of the minerals. So someone would ask that if it was a political desire for these people to fight Congo, why don't they go to the western? They don't go to the western just because it's almost an empty region. That's why they come into the eastern, not just to secure Congo, not to fight against Congo, but to rob from her riches. So from all that time, Congo has gone through numerous wars. Up to now, Congo is still at war.
Okay, thank you. I see Rachael has something to add.
Oh yeah, I would just love to wrap it up according to the background of Congo. So we come to see Congo, like how he said, point out, like in 1960, it's when Congo gets its independence. Yep, and then we see the execution of the prime minister. Then after that, Mobutu, and who took him to, it was Mobutu who handed him over to the Katanga Belgians, where he was executed. And then Mobutu takes over the power. And he takes it over from Joseph Kasavumba.
Yeah.
When he takes it over from him, Mobutu leads. He gets the freedom and he becomes I'm sorry to use this term of being a puppet to the colonialists. So he was granted the freedom. He explored the resources. There's a point where Mobutu, his kids were not schooling from Congo. They're granted a chance to go to Paris, for Paris to go and come back
on a daily basis.
So Mobutu concentrated on he gave less time to politics. So he enjoyed and he granted the Congolese the freedom and the freedom to enjoy whereby they were mining the minerals, they're doing the daily life, running off when they're happy, the music is high. So people are really enjoying life, not really minding about the politics or democracy in the country. So it's a time whereby our neighboring country, Rwanda, was facing genocide. And the Hutus, they escaped and they went to Goma, the eastern Congo. So when they went there, the president informed Mobutu about it. Mobutu gave a deaf ear to them. So the two countries where we see the K2, that is His Excellency President Museveni Kaguta and His Excellency Kagame Paul, joined together, and they had seen an interest in in Desire Kabila, where Kabila showed interest in politics, but he had no arm, he had no one to raise him up. So these guys, they decided to go and support their brother in Congo. So they supported Kabila to come over. After supporting Kabila to take over, it was Rwanda and Uganda supported Kabila to come and take over Mobutu. So after taking over Mobutu, Kabila getting in power, Kabila became selfish. And he decided to tell Uganda and Rwanda,
as you wrap it up,
to go back to their countries. And out of it, it's when Kabila, Uganda and Rwanda came behind him and decided to take him over. And then they brought in Joseph Kabila, his son. Joseph Kabila comes in and he ruled till the time when they did a new election in 2018, where Felix came in. But so here we come to see why M23 is the current situation that we're facing. We find it whereby they say M23 came in 2012. It's when it was formed. In 2012, when it came in 2013, it was kind of granted a peace with the Congo. Congo granted it a national military. And so then later in 2020-21, it's when we see again M23 coming against it because it had that denied aid. Yep. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Pedson and Rachael, for that background to the different conflicts in Congo. Now, let me bring Augustine into the discussion. So, Augustine, as we have seen, the conflicts, the rebel groups have been over 122. And there is an historical background to the conflicts in Congo. But there are also several other rebel groups that probably don't have a political rooting. So my question to you is, what is the current status of the conflict in Congo?
Okay, basing on actually the background the two people that have laid, you can draw from the past history that actually Congo has been like a battleground, yeah, where different army groups, like you're saying, over 120 plus. Imagine a country having rebels 100 plus. How are you going to work upon that? So I was just listening to what they have been talking, but from their story, I can figure out that Congo is bringing this problem, specifically due to a number of things, like how they are broken. But I will emphasize so much on what the Pedson really talked about, that should we call Congo a blessed or a cursed country? I'll imagine and equate this to being a beautiful girl. You know, when you're beautiful, you'll attract people outside. Am I deceiving? As in, this is reality on the ground. I like drawing issues, yeah, you know, to the understanding of a local man, because you're saying that Congo, uh, he termed it as either cursed or a blessed country. It is blessed in a way that it is having all these minerals and everything, but then it is cursed in the other sense that every person is now targeting that, to an extent that even we are seeing that over 120 plus army groups are coming actually for nothing but specifically they are like showing their muscles of, you know, this is the fight can go, this is the fight can fight you, this is the fight can put you back. So, and the other thing that I wanted also to hint on is actually the chain of leaders. You can see what Rachael has just told us, that one leader after the other, one leader after the other. But I was looking at that point where like they can come out and tell us that this leader, this great impact, or maybe to stop the havoc in Congo. But actually you can see and look at every leader that is coming in power is targeting either self-gain, but is not looking at how can I secure this country, this beautiful country, endowed with different natural resources, to a peaceful, you know, situation. Because even if you're blessed like how with a lot of natural endowments, there is no way you're going to transform when you don't have security. But getting so much quick to what you asked me, the situation now, we have seen that due to different, you know, the fightings that have happened, different bodies have come out, including even our own Uganda, different countries, different forces have gone to give help to Congo. We can see that actually, to me, it even communicated this decision was arrived at, like for particularly Uganda, depending on the signals that these people actually gave. You remember was it November bombings in Kampala here?
Yeah,
These
it was
people
in
had started
November.
even encroaching on us. You know, I remember His Excellency the President did mention that. I quote, he said that whichever they are, I warn them, wherever you are, come out. Otherwise, you're going to die. We are going to reach you wherever you are. So it did not come to my surprise, or I wasn't surprised when I saw Ugandan troops running to Congo. What am I talking briefly? That different bodies, different armies are going to give the aid to Congo. We have seen different reports from the UN. We are seeing different reports from the AU. You can see that at least a consolidated kind of effort is running for help. However, when I draw now the picture back to Uganda here, the troops were sent, and so far they have registered different kind of victories, because you remember they were telling us that was it November, sometime back, that Uganda made what they called an artillery operation, where they routed and cleared most of the ADF camps, and at least these areas that had a lot of rampant cases of killings and all that. You can see that at least people are now having some sleep. People are having some kind of a peaceful environment where they can exercise their thingies. So, but however, that move also created a lot of controversy, which I cannot forget to mention, mostly in the lawmakers for us here in Uganda. You saw different parliamentarians coming up with different opinions. I remember he's called the opposition chief whip, Honorable Nambeshi, coming up and is like, you know, Uganda, we are like, the parliament is just like, they take the parliament to be like just a section of people that should not be consulted on some matters, because I saw him very, very, very disturbed, saying, we don't know how many battalions have even gotten deployed in Congo. We do not know how the men and women in uniform will be, or maybe exit plan and all that. So for them, they just heard of it when it had gone. I remember even my favorite person, sorry to say, but I have to mention this, Honorable Mujulizzi, also came out and he was like, you know, these people of the army, this was after the finance person came out and he was like, we need another help, kind of help, what they were asking for, 89.7 something billion to fund the Operation Suja. And then he was like, so you people, you don't say goodbye to us, you don't say we are going, but then when you get
You just
financial
come to get
constraints,
money.
yes, when you get financial constraints, that's when you come and you're like, so Banandi, big boys, help us and all that. So this is the situation, what is happening currently. To draw it now to the other side of Congo, you can see that they were very so much pleased. Congolese were very so much pleased, though they are so much pleased. They started getting hope over a light of peaceful environment when they started seeing the Ugandan troop getting into their country. However, this one also caused them another point of worry, because you will remember UPDF is also having some history, depending on bad history. Actually, I can quote bad history depending on conflict resolution in Congo. Okay. We remember of recent Uganda army, or Uganda was taken even to High Court to pay some reparation for, was it 14 billion something? Yes.
International Court of Justice.
To International Court of Justice, thank you. So their coming was both, I looked at it in both angles, so the people of Congo looked at it at both angles. One, as a group that has come for help, they were like, oh God, at least someone has now gotten something. Thank God. But then the other people had the other history, you know. It so much happens that when you're in a situation of problems, a person can come up and help you, but then some people can help you eyeing something, yeah?
Okay.
We have seen this in current situations and current life, where a person can come up and is like giving an aid to you, but at the end of it all, you realize, oh, so this person was getting close to me, eyeing something. Come on, like someone could now pose a question. If you're going to defeat the ADF, if you're going to help a nation out of this conflict, why should you construct a road? Someone was talking about being blessed and being cursed. Why should you construct a road? As in, you know, what is it going to communicate to this downer person? Person
Okay,
will be
Augustine,
like,
as you wrap that up.
yes. So as I wrap this up, victories have really been registered, because we have seen that the terror operations that were made by the UPDF went successfully, and then we are seeing even the UN coming out to speak and to call for, to clap hands for the regional contribution, because different countries, Uganda, Rwanda, have sent troops to silence this. So at least maybe to pause this at this point, we are seeing some light coming here.
Okay. Thank you, Augustine. Let me move to Dan. I know he has been doing a lot of listening. So, Dan, I specifically have two questions for you for this topic on the conflict in Congo. The first question is, why has Congo been a habitat for so many conflicts, so many rebel groups? Because even the situation in northern Uganda, we saw Joseph Kony running to Democratic Republic of Congo. Why has it been a habitat for so many conflicts? My second question is the interventions of Uganda and Rwanda into not just the conflicts, but also into the political affairs. Why have we been seeing these two countries intervening into Congo? Those are the two questions. You can start with the first one.
Okay, thank you very much. My colleagues have laid it all. They are showing you, starting from 1960, when Congo moved from Leopold II, that was under Belgium. They have brought you to Mobutu Seseko, later to Laurent Kabila, who ruled for 18 years. They have also brought you to Joseph Kabila, and now Felix Tshisekedi. And next year we're expecting other elections. And they have tried to lay it all. Although before I come to this answer, I would love to put forward that Uganda and Rwanda meeting in Goma, it left some like 1,000 people lost their lives by then, but Joseph used that opportunity because Rwanda was pursuing the rebel groups opposite its government after the genocide that had ran into Congo. And then, just like my colleague told you, that Mobutu had to give it a deaf ear. And in pursuing that rebel group, Rwanda and Uganda met in Goma. And at the end of it all, over 1,000 lost their lives. But from there now, they have brought you far to the current status. And here you're asking me, why is it a battlefield? Maybe before coming to that, I remember we have, you all know that we have the East African currently community, and of which Congo has just joined. And before having this East African community, we have the African Union, and currently the president of African Union is His Excellency Macky of Senegal, after taking over from His Excellency Paul Kagame. So why is it a battlefield? We have African Union. Our current status, I haven't seen the measurement that have been brought by the African Union. And this is the African Union that is pursuing the Agenda 2063, where they sat and agreed that by 2020, guns must be silent. But we are now in 2022. And this is the African Union that is composed of mainly African countries. His Excellency, the President of Uganda, has always advocated for the United States of Africa. There is no good measure I've seen that are coming up. Now we have the East African community. The East African community has not had practical measures in this. But then, why is it Congo a battlefield? I'll just give you my own view on these perspectives. And it is a very tragedy that the African Union and the East African community are not having practical, there is no hypothesis implementation of the measures to end this. And this is the new country that has just joined the East African community. And why I talk much about the East African community, this is the community that has the vision of the socio-economic transformation, that has the vision that boundaries will be free. Trade, under its mission and vision, it looks at seeing that all East African citizens trade freely so that they develop. And in doing this, it implies that socio-economically and politically. Therefore, I remember His Excellency, the President of Ghana by then, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, in 1964. He said that we have inherited the boundaries that were drawn. But if we try to redraw them, we shall have an ending riot.
We shall have no moment of
and
peace.
That's why, currently, you see the accusation that M23 is supported by Rwanda. And I call it an accusation because personally, in my own view, and in your own view there, I haven't seen the evidence. Because the M23, it was the Tutsi who migrated to Congo after the genocide. They have been there as citizens of Congo almost since 1985. And this all comes after, if I may remind you, that Congo is a battlefield. The reason does not just emerge today. The reason has emerged since 1885, when that is the scramble and partition. Why after the divide of Africa, and here we come now today, where the very African community that is planning to now unite, and you see Congo is at war. Now, let me, maybe before that, Somalia as well has been at war, and the East African troops have tried to solve that. But why is it hard now in Congo? Why is Congo a battlefield? But the other question I may ask,
Maybe
who,
to pick Dan from where has so far reached.
maybe before
Let him complete.
Why? We have the rebel groups, the M23 rebels, currently we are talking of, and you're saying there are over 100 rebel groups. But who supports the M23? Where do they get all these guns from? And yet you're saying that you are choosing Rwanda, and Rwanda is saying, no, this is not part of us. You may be saying, why should the troops of Uganda go to intervene in Congo? They will also loot our things. But then if your accusation is on the two countries, and then you are forgetting to broadly see who could be behind this, especially that emerges from the colonial interests. Where do these people get guns from? If they are not supported by Congo, they are not supported by Uganda, and neither are they supported by Rwanda. Who supports the M23? And after the peace talks, just like my colleagues talked about it, in 2013, why in 2021? Here now we come to this East Democratic Republic of Congo. Why is it a battlefield? We have Virunga National Park, and Congo is a big country that is not managed very well. One itself is weak.
Yeah.
And when I talk of weak, it's weak in military, it's weak in food security, as I talk right now. It is weak in political backgrounds. So that one gives an opportunity for everyone who looks into the minerals of Congo to come and exploit them. It has been so that it is a battlefield because itself has failed to define its integrity or its territorial integrity. Because the presidents, if you follow their history, they are just puppets that are being put into power.
Yeah.
And now, if someone now decides that not to go the other way by the interest of those who put him into power, now here comes the rise of many rebel groups. But that's why I asked the question, who gives these big bombs and what? Because M23, as we've heard it all, they are not, one is that the vast geography, geographical, or if you look at the geopolitics, Congo itself being big, and when I talked of Virunga National Park, the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo calls for, identifies the weakness of the military in Congo. So it cannot handle. There are sometimes where you can go sometime back and reside in Virunga for over a year when your registration is not known and they do not know whether you exist. Now, when it comes to minerals, but I want you to look into this perspective. Congo has cobalt ore, it has colt that is used in electronics, diamond, but does Uganda, Rwanda, Kenya, Tanzania, do we have any country of these that make phones? Where do these gold, diamond, colt go? It implies that even the buyer has interest. You are leaving him behind.
As you wrap that up.
And in this time, the buyer, I think, is the West. Drawing from the pre-colonial, because now we have the new colonial that you are not seeing. The West are coming back to colonize us. Because just I've showed you what is being extracted from Congo is not used here in Uganda, neither in Rwanda. But where does it go? And then do you think the one who receives wants to lose that market? And then you see that the UN itself has been there for good time. But what has it done practically? It has filed on the grounds of implementation of peace as its agenda. And currently, what I can say that the East African community, I saw the other time Uhuru was in Kenya trying to negotiate peace. His Excellency of the Republic of Uganda and Rwanda were also there. But I do not think that with this consistency of war in Congo, the East African integration will be achieved.
Okay, thank you so much, Dan. That was a very impactful insight. Let me move back to Pedson. let's talk about the issue of the EAC that has come from the panelists, and that was exactly where Dan ended.
Yeah.
Now, what does it mean for the integration with the conflict in Congo that is now openly as well making Congo have some sort of loggerheads with, for example, Rwanda? We have seen the spokesperson of the Congolese army come up and openly say, Rwanda, you're sponsoring this M23 in our country. And it has brought a lot of issues and conflicts. So what does it mean for the EAC, the conflict in Congo?
Thank you very much. We have seen Congo accusing Rwanda. We do not know whether it's truthfully or falsely that Rwanda is sponsoring the M23 against Congo. But in regard to the EAC, so it's like, should Congo join the EAC even when she's undergoing all those wars?
But it's already a member.
She's already a member. So was it a genuine decision to bring Congo in? Me, I would say yes, because it would be the same question of Augustine is sick. Should we allow him to join our group, yet he qualifies? Yes, because I see that his sickness is not meant to be permanent. So anytime, if we join efforts, we can easily correct. So for Congo has been under war, the best way is to own Congo and support in bringing the wars to the end as in joint efforts. Because one of the qualifications for a country to subscribe to any regional body is that that country must be sharing physical boundaries with other countries of that regional body. We see that Congo is sharing boundaries with Uganda, Rwanda, Burundi, and Tanzania. That one gives Congo an automatic kick to join as long as she concedes to the laws that are governing the community, which Congo has already done. So having Congo joined, what should we do as the community? We need to sit down on table. We see on how our sister country is suffering, such that it becomes an individual country's motive to rescue Congo. And in the need to rescue Congo, we need not to go as independent countries, in that Rwanda will make her own decision and go for rescue. Uganda makes her own decision, goes for rescue. But we should come down, we form a united army as in the region, then we send it to Congo with a common voice to fight not the enemy of Congo, but a common enemy of the East African community. Because the moment you agree that we form a regional body, it means that no one is bearing individual burdens. So it means all the burdens are being shared, and all the other opportunities will be shared. So we should not neglect Congo to be having her own problems, but we should own all the problems Congo is going through, so that we form a common army that is meant to rescue our brother Congo.
Okay. Thank you, Pedson. Let me bring Augustine into the discussion right from there. So let's even go back into the entry of Congo into the East African community. We have had several countries join the EAC, but at the time when they are undergoing war, the same with South Sudan. Now Somalia is showing interests. And Pedson says we should be able to take on their conflict and join a force and be able to tackle the conflict. Now, don't you think that is something that EAC would be taking on more than it can swallow, to keep bringing into it countries that are undergoing wars? Like, for example, if it adds Somalia to the ongoing wars in other countries.
You see, for starters, at first, East African community has a very big role to play. But like how you're asking that, won't it be too big for it now to swallow it up? I'll mention one thing that countries must, I think, first of all, kill in themselves this aspect of once I join ESC, everything is going to be sorted. I will borrow this from actually how it is in DRC, where actually absolutely the masses, the netizens, the citizens themselves don't have the trust, and even both in the government and the armies. So before even taking up what Pedson is saying, that we need a standing army that can, solve conflict among the state members, state countries and all that. First of all, we should look at specifically Congo. We must redefine, we must redefine in a sense that masses must now first gain the trust and confidence in their government, because they are seeing their government as just a mere pass-through.
Okay, Augustine, I'll stop you right there. We'll take a short break and still come back with students of Mountains of the Moon, discussing the conflict in DRC.
Digital rights are those human rights and legal rights that allow individuals to access, use, create and publish digital media, or to access and use computers, other electronic devices and telecommunication networks. Digital rights include a right to freedom of expression, information and communication through technology, a right to privacy and data protection, a right to credit for personal works, a right to universal and equal digital access, a right to identity, a right to anonymity, a right to be forgotten, and a right for protection of minors, among others. The state's digital rights are frequently violated through various unfair actions, for example, blockage of websites and social networks, theft of credentials, unauthorized use of people's data for personal gain, privacy intrusion, online censorship, arrests and intimidation of online users, internet blockages, and the proliferation of laws and regulations that undermine the potential of technology to drive social, economic, and political development worldwide. It is hence every citizen's responsibility to respect rights of other digital users and to speak out or report to the responsible parties when one's rights are violated.
Welcome back from that short break. We are still with students of Mountains of the Moon University discussing the conflict in the Democratic Republic of Congo and what that means for the regional intervention and the regional integration. So before we took that break, we were still with you, Augustine. Yes, you were still making your point. You can just pick up from where you had stopped.
Yeah, before that break, I was trying to show you, because you showed me that you asked me, and you're like, now that DRC is coming into East African community, will everything be sorted? And
it's already there.
It's already there, actually. And then I was declining that, and I was saying, first of all, countries must kill that notion of when I go to the block, everything is going to be sorted for me. And I was emphasizing a point, and I was saying that even there must be redefinition of people thinking, the people of Congo, in a way that for them now they have shifted to the main of not actually trusting in their government, not trusting in their forces. So before even looking at having a standing force, like how Pedson did mention, a standing force can be there, okay, fine, it can be wielded. I cannot authoritatively say that that is a wrong, maybe kind of thinking or something like that. But first work upon yourself. First paint a picture of hope in your masses. First redefine your army, so that in case of any danger, you're not just there to say, please come for help, please come for help. Can you first at least stand on your ground, and then these people can come as just maybe to help you out? Because we have seen that from the background, this is a country that I must call volatile. People are going to keep going there in a sense of, let's help you. And at the end of it all, this country is just going to keep, deteriorating backwards, just because I feel like whoever is going there is tossing at a certain mineral, is looking at what can I get out, and then I run away. Look at even their leaders themselves.
Okay, but Augustine, even on the entry that you're talking about into the ESC,
Yeah.
even when you say they should look into themselves and not say, when I enter ESC, my problems will be solved. But should ESC itself first look into a country and say, our vetting process is that you shouldn't have ongoing wars. We don't want to take on your wars. Should ESC do that? Or should ESC simply look at, do you share a boundary with one of the members of the ESC? Okay, join us.
Yeah, of course, ESC must not look at how are you standing right now to join me. I think ESC is a body that has gotten different conditions or guidelines for you to work or to be close to them. So my whole narrative is you don't need to look at a war. A war is something that is temporary. If you now bring in aspects of, vetting, and we look how much you're standing, how are you standing before you join us, then you lose the whole concept. Because now it means that what would happen, or maybe to a state that has already joined, like Uganda, who has been there for years and years, if at all, may God forbid, if at all we also go into wars, yeah, are you going to push us out of ES just because we are in a war? A war is something that is temporary, that can be solved. We cannot afford, to underlook the socio-economic and, all those aspects of what the integration want to bring about just because of necessarily a war. So we need to look at having this solved. That's why I applaud the Ugandan troops and all other troops. Leave alone these things of, they are eyeing there. They are going there eyeing something. First of all, do we have the security? Yes. Is the situation getting back to normal? Yes. If at all we are having that and we are seeing now this country getting back to normal, let them come. As in a war should not be anything, a block towards joining or the whatever, the integration. Yeah.
To some extent, I disagree with Augustine by saying, yes, it's clear that wars are not permanent in countries, that are temporary, and the regional bloc is not also for a short time. It is there permanently. So if a country that is at war shows interest, we say, yes, we are ready to take you up as long as you clear your current situation, bring it to
So
normal.
your point is that before you join us, like right now we have Somalia that has shown interest, it has applied to join. You are saying that ESC should say, okay, you want to join us, but first sort out the wars in your country.
Yeah, we first put conditions on that. We are ready maybe to help you as just neighbors, not as our member. So when you have come to peace, we shall take you up. Because we need not to always accept problems. You have problems, come, we shall help you, we shall help you. So it will bring a bad image to our regional bloc that it's our bloc that does not have peace. It's always in conflict, but it can be okay if someone says their neighbors are at war and the EAC has come to help. But for now that Congo joined and it's at war, that one we can persevere and handle jointly. But now these who are bringing in new conflicts, we can take them when they have sorted themselves off.
Before that, let me just ask Pedson one more question. So, Pedson, you are talking about we can only admit a country when they solve their internal conflicts.
Yes.
And then secondly, you are saying the ones that already have conflicts, we can have a joint force. Now, my question to you is, the ESC having a joint force and intervening into a country, it has been proposed before, but this has not happened. So why has the ESC, because it was proposed earlier even by the former President Uhuru Kenyatta.
Yes.
why hasn't the EAC done so? If there should even be a criteria for conflict resolution before you join.
Thank you. Now, the challenge that we have faced in East Africa is that we have not considered to a common policy governing our politics. Because the clashing points that have always come up in East Africa have been that let us have a common term limit. And we find that some are having term limits, others do not agree with the proposal. Like we see in Kenya, term limit is there. In Tanzania, term limit is there. But Uganda has denied. So that one has limited most of the political proposals that are brought up in the community. So if the members of the East African community first sit down and solve all those challenges, then we can come to a common consensus that I still encourage.
Okay.
Now, I still have a feeling that we can form that common army to help the challenges that we have already incurred, but not welcoming more.
Okay,
You see-
let Augustine respond in
Yes,
less than
you
a minute,
see,
then I bring Rachel into the discussion.
a regional integration is different from a relationship.
Yes.
To an extent that when we talk about regional integration, we are talking things that are going to develop a section or a block, isn't it? So now, what do I feel from his input is that is this kind of person that is putting conditional love, okay? I will love you if you have a car. If you don't have it, go away. Because why am I saying this? Is because when you come out and you're like, we should have East African integration, East African countries integrating. And then you're like, but on condition you don't have a war. That one alone kills the other doctrine of promoting the social, economic, and political togetherness. We have seen different presidents coming out, even of recent when I was watching, was it the Independence? Yes, the newly elected president of Kenya, William Ruto, did mention that, you know what, we need to market together. We need to trade together. We need to have a free border East Africa. So, for you to achieve a free border East Africa does not necessarily mean that you have to stop others just because they are in danger at that particular time. The question now goes, or maybe the debate now shifts to how best can we get you from the danger such that now that you've passed the regulations, the guidelines, and everything to join us, I call this temporary. The way is temporary. We can solve this because we cannot underlook, having this market together. Whenever a country is joining the bloc, it communicates market, it communicates business, it communicates everything. What would happen if now you cut off that kind of state? It means you're limiting the other socio-economic aspect of it, which I see absolutely not really good. A war should not be a stoppage to any country joining the bloc, as long as
Augustine,
measures are put up to
Let me bring Rachel.
to clear that. Yeah.
Let me bring Rachel into that discussion. So, Rachel, what is your perspective on vetting countries in terms of their joinder? Should we say you cannot join the EAC if you have ongoing wars in your country?
Thank you so much. I will start from there. Relating back to Augustine and Pedson's talk, to me, my own opinion, I would say yes. We would do the vetting.
So you agree with Pedson?
Yes.
Conditional
Okay.
yeah, maybe.
No. Let Rachel finish.
Conditional love.
Augustine is saying you agree to conditional love.
Let me pick up from Rachel.
No. Let Rachel finish. Rachel, what arguments are you prompting for? Are you advancing for us vetting a country to only join when you don't have ongoing wars?
First, it would be, first of all, like we East African, we're already facing a lot as East African community. So when you take the economically, we're having also issues. We go politically, now Uganda, Congo coming to be among us. It's going on, there is a war that, okay, the one that we know in Eastern Congo, there is one which is already taking place. And so far, the East African community has not come up with a standard army to send to Congo. If East Africa was already working harder, like in terms of cooperating together, and maybe apart from talking, not putting in action, if they were coming into action and they're like, you know what, let's do this, maybe we would just consider these people to just come in without vetting. So here we should make sure that this other country, maybe like Somalia, before it comes to be among the East African country, it should be having some standards. Maybe standards in terms of
let Rachael finish.
In terms of the military, how are they standing? Economically, how are they standing? Socially, how are they standing? Because we see that East African community, it's basing on, it depends on to widen and deeper in social, economic, political. So we need to first get to know, are these countries on the standard before we bring them to the community that we're already having.
Now, Rachael, I would like to ask you a question. I know Augustine already has questions for
I
the
also
two of
have
you.
supplement.
Okay. So my question to you is, if we vet and we say these countries should not join EAC because of the ongoing wars, don't you think still the wars in their countries will affect the other EAC members?
Yes, they will, because that will be making a Lake Mashim in Uganda, that will maybe, no, Kenya, because Congo is already an East African one. So Kenya will be facing challenges like insecurities and always keep on panic, and maybe the common market will not go on well, and it will be hindering also the custom union, the political federation that we want as East African will not go on well.
Okay.
I pick up from Rachael.
No, Pedson.
Let me
get Dan's perspective in all this.
Yes.
So should we say a country that is infested with conflicts should not join EAC until they resolve their issues?
That is very wrong. I do not agree with my colleagues. And maybe to disclaim, one of my colleagues talks about the term limits as being one of the cause of the problem.
That was Pedson.
That is Pedson, which is also not right, because it is not about term limits. And that's why I strongly disagree that you should vet a country not to come in. Now, let me give you an example of ADF, which is a rebel group in Congo, and Uganda is pursuing it. ADF has been here in Uganda, for example, in the year 1996, it was here. It has even been conducting some attacks in Uganda. So it implies, maybe to quote it well, with Dr. Martin Luther saying that what affects one in a major way affects all in a minor way. Because if you vetted this country that because you are at war, Somalia, don't join us. Maybe Congo, you are at war, let us remove you. And any other country in that way, it implies that you will not sit here. The very ADF, the very M23 that is in Congo, because look, Uganda borders Congo. Rwanda also borders Congo. So it implies when you leave them that you vetted them so themselves. The rebels will still attack your integrity, sovereignty of your country. The territorial borders will be at danger, and your citizens as well will be at danger.
Okay, let me just ask you a question right there, Dan.
Yes.
So do you have to join the EAC for a country to intervene if the wars in your country affects them?
No. You don't need to join EAC for intervention. But maybe what we can look into now. One, we are losing on the Pan-African agenda that we want unity of the black people. These are African countries. So what we can look into are the measures put forth by the East African community to readdress these issues let them be in politics, let them be economic, especially the issues of wars. That's why we advocate that the standby force for East Africa should be established. I would advocate and recommend that henceforth, starting from today, because Congo is at war. And if you leave Congo, that's why you've seen Ugandan troops there trying to mitigate. If you leave it, the next day will be problematic to your very country. So as the East African integration sits down, and the African Union, which is also quiet, they should come up with measures that are applicable in addressing these issues. Because, for example, Uganda exports baked food to Congo. It exports cement to Congo. But now when Congo is at war, will Uganda do that export? It implies that economically, these countries are failing. And you've heard of recent, His Excellency of Kenya saying that we need a border-free entry. And the pillars and the vision and the mission of the integration is to address these boundaries, to have free trade, for that these countries can develop socially, economically, and politically to stand and be on their own, to reduce on the dependency syndrome that comes from the West and define themselves as African countries. So as the East African community, which is having 7 membership, and I would also say that Somalia, which is applying, should be welcomed. What they need to do is to readdress the practical measures to intervene. Because one look, when all these countries are having the united force, it implies that the accusation of M23 is supported by Rwanda. Maybe Uganda you are supporting here will end, because every country will have a unit of force in that very amalgamation of the standby force. So when there is an emergence, like it is in Congo, that standby force of the East African will go and intervene. And you will not come out to accuse that Uganda, Congo, and yet all the forces, including that very cohort or that country that is at war, are there. And these will come to the end of especially addressing this war. And when peace is attained, I still see hope that the East African integration is possible if practical measures are done in time.
Okay, before I move to Augustine, let me just ask Dan one last question. Now, on that point of having a joint force, earlier on I asked the same question to Pedson. It is not the first time it is being proposed. Even the former president of Kenya did so. And when he made that proposal, it was in the presence of most of these presidents of the EAC. Why hasn't it happened up to now, even when the proposal came from them, not even from us, the panelists?
Okay, that's a good question. Why hasn't the standby force been formed? And we are almost coming to the climax of the 11th hour of the agenda, because when you see 2063 is not far. They propose that by 2020 guns will be silent. So why hasn't this happened is that it is because of the balkanism in the political interest. You know, there are other leaders who have failed to pursue the interests of the East Africa, the interest of Africa, but because they look onto fulfilling their personal interest, what I call balkanism. So the ideas, you see, when you have the proprietors who sit down and then their interest varies, then when they don't meet the common goal, because just like you've seen, it has been proposed, by this time we should have the standby force, but it isn't there. One may be in their own perspective, they were still addressing some conflicts like in Somalia, in Southern Sudan, and in Congo, so that to settle these, and these countries can now come on board. Of recent, we had an army in Uganda where Congo sent representatives. They are trying to now start the formation of the East African Standby Force, and because Congo is a new entrant to the East African community, it had sent representatives. But now, at this time when they are trying to pursue it, And now the political balkanism I'm talking about, you hear that accusation in Congo that M23 is supported by Rwanda, that maybe Uganda should move away from Congo. It is maybe having interest in exploiting resources. So that balkanism, self-interest in some individuals has delayed the East African community, among other factors that maybe they wanted to firstly address these other conflicts and doing policies that will govern them internally.
Okay. Yes, Augustine, you had something to add in less than a minute, and we move on to something else.
Yeah, less than a minute. I wanted to just sum up what were that whole thing, that the debate or the controversy that came up between can we allow in a country that is politically insecure, or we should go with people that are good. I want to say that firstly, what we have to look at is not look at things that's here, but look at things in a broader perspective. Yeah, the broader perspective meaning what I called the temporary situations. If you're not well off in the pocket today, it should not necessarily be the reason for me not to correlate with you tomorrow. Okay, so that's why I now co-co with what Dan is saying, that we need to just establish means of how can we get out of this pest, how can we get out of this situation that is eating up our sister or brother, so that we work together to achieve what we want to achieve as a region. And then to supplement on what he has said, I think to me, it will be very difficult. However, I don't necessarily authoritatively always want to come out and I rule, I say this cannot happen. It can happen. A standing force can be, but I feel like there is a lot that needs to be addressed. He talked about the political, he's calling it balkanism, something like that. African leaders are defined by one definition, if I can say, supremacy in power. Every person wants to feel like I must be one. Now, if this is a joint force and we are looking at the main role being watchdogging and sweeping out all maybe conflicts and political unrests in a given state, now the questions now will come: who to head it? Where will it be situated? Who is going to be in full charge of it? And now that one takes me back to what he said.
And what shall we do if it affects the interest of a sitting president?
Yes.
Some of those questions
Will the army itself even be there to cheer up all the wishes, all the interest of every state? Because if this army now feels like you contributing to a party, to a birthday party or a wedding party, and you, in your wish, you feel to have a cake, you know, a birthday cake. I want to eat a birthday cake after putting in my 10,000. What will happen if I don't eat the cake?
Okay.
Things will be sour. But it can be formed, and if it's formed well and good, I think it will be a very good one, because it will help out to these nations on condition, each one of them, like how I said, that each one must now first have your own. Then if we are looking at having a united one, let's have it, but let us not all draw our attentions to the moment we have it. The moment I join the block, I'm well off.
Okay, thank you. Let me move back to Pedson. So as we are even talking about the EAC, all that that has been coming up are proposals. EAC proposes to do this. EAC proposes to do this. But my question to you is, what is the current role that EAC plays in conflict resolution in the different states that subscribe to it?
Okay, thank you. Currently, we have seen the influence of the EAC community, because we had a recent dialogue in Kenya in which the president of Congo, Tshisekedi, and the president of Kenya was involved. And in the resolutions, Congo is, rather, Kenya is expected to deploy in Congo to rescue the situation, and it's not deploying in Congo as its own, as in it being Kenya, but they're going to deploy in Congo under the name of the East African Community. And this is meant to show the unity of the East African community in the fight for peace in the region. We have also seen Uganda going already in Congo to rescue, not going there just as Uganda, but showing the heart of the East African community.
Is Uganda intervening as EAC or member state or as Uganda?
Though it may be to a higher extent as Uganda, but still the element of being a member is still there, because we have seen other wars in other countries in which Uganda has just given a deaf ear, but it's now giving a quick response to Congo.
The question is why?
Who is a community member.
Okay.
Augustine is coming with the question of why. I know he is bringing the hidden treasure, which I had already said that people have always gone there for different missions. It's possible because in the past already Uganda did it, and we have seen it being sanctioned to pay, I think it's 325 billion.
Okay,
so
14
that one, of course, that one cannot be declared that we are going to loot, but they go in the name of rescuing, of course. So at least we can see that the East African community has done something basing on the peace talks that have taken place.
Okay, before, I know Dan has said he disagrees. Before I even bring him into the discussion, let me go to Rachael. Rachael, when we look at the East African community and how big it is and how long it has taken us to even form it, and it has survived from 1999, do you think the intervention that the EAC is having is sufficient for for a regional bloc when it comes to conflict resolution? Do you think it's doing enough when it comes to intervention in conflict resolution?
My answer, okay, to go say, I can't say yes, I can't say no. Because if I say yes, meaning it has really done a lot. But somewhere, somehow, we see you asked Pedson, the role of the East African community. One, it's there to bring the common market. It brings the custom union, the political federation, and then we see it goes to money to bring the currency to be one, and all in all, common currency. So we all see that it has its good aims. Somehow, somewhere in Uganda, I would say, we are really, when you consider, when I go on economically, we are badly off. In terms of the currency, in terms of the entire situation. Apart from political stability, we are okay. Not 100, yeah, we are okay, because we are not having any war in that country.
You're seeing the president speaking in Rachael.
We are okay. Yeah. Economically, we are a little bit not stable, but we are also stabilizing because we are coming up. We are not, okay, when you compare 2022 to 2018, we are at least coming up. So all in all, I would think still say yes, because we check the years back down and now where we are. I think it's really
okay,
doing
because my question lies in the EAC's intervention.
Intervention in
yes, in
political.
conflict resolution. We have conflicts ongoing in South Sudan. We have conflicts in Congo. Uganda has had several conflicts. There were so many years of conflict in the north. And that was when EAC was already in place. Mm. So my question is the EAC doing enough intervention in these countries when it comes to conflict resolution?
When it comes to conflict, I think there is lack. It needs to pull up, to strengthen up.
Okay, let me move to Dan. Dan, the same question. Is the EAC doing enough in conflict resolution? For example, are we one day going to see an EAC that will sit and say, resolved we are going into South Sudan instead of Uganda saying, I'm going to South Sudan to resolve conflicts?
Okay, thank you very much. Just like in 2003, Uganda went to Southern Sudan. And maybe before that, I would love to disagree with my colleague Pedson that is looking at the perspective of interest of minerals only. But the other perspective is, one, there are many refugees from Congo who are in Uganda. And in all the refugee camps of Ndungo, among others. It implies that if, for example, November last year, UPDF had not intervened in Congo, we would have had more Congolese nationals coming to seek asylum in Uganda. And now, what are the impact of these refugees? They bring out outsourcing expenditure of the country. And among others, there are other, themselves, for example, it brings out what we call a threat, a security threat to these other nationals. And holding these refugees for more years, although Uganda has perfectly done that, it isn't good because it also has the disadvantages it brings, especially on the economy of the country, on the social perspective. And then that's why I disagree with him. Because when you look at the war indemnity or reparation, Congo is choosing Uganda of paying 14 billion. That is from the 1999 and 2003 accusation that Uganda had to loot some timber, among others. However, you have to now weigh what is the situation before the intervention of Uganda to Congo. The situation was worse. People are now at least breathing. So you look at that and even what it takes, what they actually immunize not to happen, like the issue of refugee I was talking about, and the threat, security threat attack on Uganda. So it implies that we can not only dwell on the issue that there is interest of maybe minerals, but the intervention is also of great value. Now, I come to what you ask me. What really has the East African done?
Yes, has it done enough?
Has it done enough? The East Africa has not done enough. The East African community, it reminds me of what I talked about, the balkanism of political interest. This one has hindered the East African community to do enough. Because why? That's why, just like you said, a country runs to Southern Sudan as Uganda, it runs to Congo, Rwanda runs to Congo, not as East Africa, because that's why we need the standby force. And it implies that East Africa has not done enough in addressing these conflicts because of the repeated personal interest that is killing Africa. What I talk of political balkanism, that just an individual has interest. Just like you see that Uganda had to loot some timber. These were individuals, not all that, and these ones at the end of it all, they create a bad image to the nation. Just now in the East African integration, the East Africa has not done enough simply because of some individuals I may quote who have the interest, maybe now there I concur with my friend Pedson, to the extent that they have political interest of if I loot more, then I will gain much, than having the interest of the East African and Africa at large. Because we see the place where there are many wars is the east part of the DRC that is vast with gold mineral deposits. So it implies we cannot deal away with that interest. And that one hinders now the amalgamation of the East African community members on the table to address and see what do we really do. However, an individual will think of running there first with the other interest that I will gain at the end.
Okay, let me come back to Pedson. So my question is on a resolution based perspective. Dan brought out the issue of a standby army. My question is, what more should the EAC do in order to resolve conflicts within the EAC? Because several of these countries are infested with conflicts, you know, within the EAC. And if Somalia joins, it will be one more country that is infested with conflicts.
Thank you very much. It was said in the year 1963 by the then leader of Ghana, who was Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, who said, for any country in Africa to develop, we must redefine ourselves. And we must fight 3 common enemies of ignorance, poverty, and disease. And in the need to fight this, we can never have them achieved when we are under war. So what we need to do, we need to realize that we are Africans. We do not have a Rwandese, we don't have a Congolese, we don't have a Ugandan, nor do we have a Tanzanian. So this perspective of this one is a Tutsi, so he's a Rwandese, not worth being in Congo, should be ended. Because the moment we keep on segregating ourselves according to the ethnic distinctions, then we shall keep at war. But if we redefine ourselves, we ignore the political boundaries that were imposed on us by the colonialists, then we shall live in harmony.
Okay, thank you. Let me move to Augustine. Still the same question. What more should the EAC do?
On addition to now EAC looking at having that, united force, I think it has a great role to do what I talked about. I'm grateful now is bringing it again. What I mentioned earlier, the redefinitions of self-stake. Can I first trust myself? Can I first have that trust in me? Can I first build home? Then that, because now I'm seeing that is the major role that ES must do. First of all, to equip these people, or maybe with how can they define their army strong to an extent that by the time they join the bloc, at least even if there is a war, it is not a matter of lamentation and all that. At least you're caught, organized and ready for something. So I think they can just do some kind of, sensitizing or what. Like they must now look at how can we really instill in this each individual state at least that aspect of strong me, then strong us. Yeah, that is what they can do. They can sign papers, they can sign treaties, but all those are just ink on papers. But the real thing, the real sense is first do what you can do home better before you join us. So that before even these people spell their conditional love, like how I called it, what, at least you're better, you've housed yourself. Okay, that's all I think.
Okay, let me move to Rachael. Something that I don't want us to leave the talk show without discussing is on the issue of international intervention outside Africa. We saw it when the president of DRC some time back cried out to the then Prime Minister of UK, Boris Johnson. So my question is, do you think it is okay and it is time for the international community outside Africa, outside East Africa, to intervene in affairs of the East African countries, especially when it comes to conflict resolution, like the one we have in Congo?
No. No, and my reasons, because where would you invite, like, assume you're having, I'm going to take it up like Congo, to be, as East African, to be a family. If you're having your issues with your family, why would you go and call up maybe some other family that cannot relate to come and solve your problem? Yeah. So as a family like Congo and East Africa, a family like East African community should sit together, look for ways. The way they've called it a black love coming up, and we don't look at hatred, but we look for how can we develop ourselves. Europe has developed itself, but what strategies have they used to develop themselves? So it's exactly that's what I would love to see, like East African community say, calling up Congo, Sudan, Uganda, Burundi, Rwanda, Kenya, Tanzania, and in case Somalia joins us, maybe being the 8th partner, once it comes together and is like, you know what, let's take off, let's teach, sensitize people. Discriminative is not good. How can we build our countries? How can we do in terms of common market, that is, of course, economically? Go to political foundation, bringing up where we're talking about coming up as 7 countries, coming up with 1 president, or maybe 1 chairman who can really understand. Like, let them develop, let them first come ground, talk, listen to each other, look for solutions, how to solve them. And then later, if in case it fails, but anyway, if in case it fails, whereby I believe once you're beyond 1 person, or maybe 5 people coming in together, they're better than 1 person.
Okay. Before you add, let me move to Dan, because I've seen him nodding. Now, Rachael's perspective is that we should resolve our own issues. Now, I would like to get your perspective as well, because Congo has had over 122 rebel groups, and it has taken it over 25 years. Up to date, the war is still ongoing. It's a member of EAC, it's a member of African Union. My question is, don't you think it is time for an international intervention?
Thank you very much. I don't think it is time. That would be suicidal. Because just from my colleague Rachael, the whole hypothesis of the integration is unity to be strong, because these small components moving alone as Uganda or as Rwanda, they don't help. And at this time, when you call for international intervention, it is very suicide in a way that Congo has been a daughter, and the boundaries, just like we said, they are artificial boundaries that were designed by the international intervention you're calling. It invited itself in the 1880s, and they even sat and divided the cakes. So after looting, and they were satisfied, maybe when the African leader started identifying that they need their own sovereignty, these people went. So that's why in the first place we think of the standby force. And you also do ask what other measures can be done by the East African community. We thought of the standby force first, because you cannot now have a free border entry point when your security is not good. You cannot think of addressing the social-cultural aspect, that we need to have that unity in the East African social cultural aspect, so that we eliminate the word you are Uganda, you are Rwanda, just like my colleague said, but we are Africans and in the East African community. This is international intervention would only be good if we were to go back in the 1880s. Yeah. But currently where we are, if the East African community has already had membership of 7, it's just when you invade the international intervention, you are not building back better, but you are going back to the roots of the boundaries that we are seeing today. And that's why in my conversation I do say that in Cairo, that is 1964, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah said that if we try to redefine the boundaries, then we shall be at war. If you are inviting the international intervention, and yet, in my own perspective, I do say that where does the most mineral we talked about from Congo go? It goes to these very people. So when you're inviting them now to come fully in Congo,
You're inviting them at source.
you are creating suicide.
Now come and intervene.
The
Come and advance
only
your interest.
measure I'm advocating for, or we are advocating for today, is that the East Africa has to, my colleague said, pull up. They have to leave the other element of political balkanism interest and look forward to strengthen and have applicable measures within the East African community to solve these other antagonistic parties and the appraising of these conflicts, so that we can have a stronger East Africa, eliminating the ethnicity disease that is killing us.
Okay, we have come to the end of the talk show. I'm going to give each of you a chance to give us your closing remarks. So if you have any burning issues, you bring it up in your closing remarks in 1 minute each, and I'll start with Pedson. It seems more burning.
Thank you very much. I'm agreeing with my brother Dan, like I had suggested before, that we need to redefine ourselves. So I'm relating it to, if we invite the international intervention into Africa, then we shall be reflecting what took place in Libya in the year 2010. 10 and 11, through that. We saw, yes, they came under the disguise of harmonizing Libya, but the Libya then is not the Libya now.
They looted oil.
They looted, and currently the situation in Libya, after their harmonization, they say, is worse than it was by then. Look at what is happening in Ukraine. Ukraine, I just believe, from the videos I have watched and the news I have read, that there is more sleep in Congo than what is happening in Ukraine. So what if we bring them? The situation will be worse, given that Congo is more richer than the countries they have intervened in. So they will come, loot and loot. When they get satisfied, leave an empty basket in Congo.
Okay, let me move to Augustine.
In conclusion, if I can conclude in just a few words, is that nowadays I'm so much sensitive to putting on neckties, just like Dan does, because I'm this kind of person who really, I'm tired of colonial rule. Yeah, and I think colonial thing has some history to do with the neckties and all that. Why am I saying so? Is that for us to invite these people and then we are like, come and then take up this, we are championing colonialism again. Okay? Just before when I take you for a look at what is happening at our oil, just Uganda, we are having maybe this oil in Waiswa, but you can see the alarm and all the noise that is happening. What will happen now to this volatile country, DRC, that is having how many minerals? Very many. It means you're just bringing an enemy at source. I wish that African countries, we have all it takes to be us, to defend, to provide for ourselves economically and everything. We should not keep dancing to the songs of independence only on Independence Day, and then when we go back at home, we are saying, please, please, please. Okay. That's now out. Thank you.
Thank you. Rachael.
Thank you so much. As we are concluding, we are ending this, like, remember we came in for DRC conflicts and the impact on the regional. So all in all, to me, we are the Congo conflicts. To me, I think it's not about, I'm concluding saying, let's not look on Uganda and Rwanda being the cause, but let's ask ourselves, don't you think that other people spearheading it back and they're making these Congolese to keep fighting or maybe sponsoring these rebels? And then we go back to check the impacts, the effects that we're having. We get to know that we are facing challenges of refugees. They're increasing in large number and they're not developing to us. They're not bringing any economic development to our countries. And we face the insecurities. And after facing the insecurities, then we also get to the loss of market, of trade. It goes low. So you find our country, Uganda, because the regional integration so MEA will be bringing it exactly to our country. We are not really benefiting much.
Okay.
Yeah, so all in all, that's how I concluded. Thank you.
Yes, Dan.
Thank you very much. I am not a prophet of loom, but
Neither
if
legend
I'm
of
to be a
colonialism.
prophet of loom, I see that in the future, we shall have two Congos. Just like we have Southern Sudan and Northern Sudan. And if I just prophesy that in the future when we have those two Congos, there shall be at most peace. However, in regard to that, I still emphasize that East African community is strong, only that there is a disease that is killing individuals, and we only need a therapy called decolonizing the mind.
Yeah.
If they decolonize the mind and know that without the West, we can stand. Because one, that when you keep your mind in the box of the West, you fail to understand that even these very minerals, you can, at the end of it all, use them yourself. But what they think is that when we get these minerals, export outside, we shall have a relationship with this country and we shall get money. And they forget to know that. That's why since 1960, that there is the independence of Congo, those are almost 62 years. So you cannot say that you are now inviting the international, the West to come and intervene after 60 years of independence.
Okay.
However, what I can say today is that the East African integration has people who are targeting it to fail, and that is the West, I repeat, because it is aiming at creating strong unity in the economy to avoid and address the issue of food security, the social culture and political perspective of having one leadership, and we shall be strong to move and compete to the entire world. So we still have hope for the East African integration. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much to our panelists. We have come to the end of our debate. Thank you so much, Pedson, Augustine, Rachael, and Dan, for gracing our invitation. I would like to say thank you so much to Center for Constitutional Governance and Civic Space TV for organizing the Inter-University Debate, which is a platform where university students are able to discuss current affairs that affect the country, that affect the region, and the world at large. From us, we say thank you to the viewers. See you again next week, same time.